In the following few minutes, I'll let our engineer Finn to give us a bit more details about this test setup and the test result.
So I was in charge of doing the DMP3 communication between the Honeywell and the ABB RTU. On the Honeywell RTU, we have a bunch of options here. So we have a digital output and a digital input. So this switch here, toggling it turns on this light. The program has been configured to send a signal from the ABB RTU to the Honeywell RTU and repeat the same process of turning on the digital output and therefore illuminating the LED. So if I go into the ABB multiprog and force one of these values, so I can send this value here going into the debug menu and overriding the value to true, we can return to the Honeywell test rig and see that the digital output is on despite the digital input switch being turned off. So if I go ahead and disable this again, it will turn back to 0. There we go. And it works in reverse as well. If I were to send a value from the Honeywell, I can, which is linked to the switch, by turning on the switch, I can see that the received Boolean point is now a 1 as well by triggering the switch. So if I turn it off again, it turns off here. So this is basically proving that peer-to-peer communication works between the Honeywell and the ABB RTU. One of the major problems we had was the time synchronization. So with time synchronization, we didn't have a SCADA server to connect to, so we didn't really have a pure source for time and date data. So to have an actual server to provide time and date data for DMP3 communication, which is a prerequisite, we created a server on the Windows machine, and you can relate to one of our previous videos on how to configure the SMTP server, which is how we transmitted the time and date data. A great debugging step which we found was to use a mirrored switch, and this basically mirrors the incoming and outgoing data into a single Ethernet channel, which is relayed to the host computer, so our Windows 10 machine. And then using something similar to Wireshark, we can see the individual packets and understand exactly where communication is going wrong or where it needs to be improved, or even potential improvements we can implement to the data stream. A major benefit of this is that we have now proved that the peer communication between various different RTUs work. So despite each RTU being from a different vendor, we have proven that it is feasible and it is possible to have effective peer communication between different vendors. This will give clients a peace of mind for their operations and future upgrades as well.